Hi everybody, Andrew Muller here, reporting live from the Phyllis Schlafly's Eagle Council. I'm here with a very special gentleman, Douglas Mackey. If you haven't followed his story, we're going to get into it and kind of summarize it. But basically, Douglas was on X, had a big following under the name Ricky Vaughn, and he posted a meme that was actually very funny. It was about Hillary Clinton and voting. We'll show a picture of the meme on the screen. But for that meme, Douglas was sentenced to serve time in prison. Yes, you heard that right. That's the kind of stuff we hear in the UK, but unfortunately, it has crept into the United States. So, Douglas, thank you so much for joining us. So, for those who don't know, kind of summarize what happened. What was the intention behind the meme? What were you doing? And then we'll kind of get into the repercussions of that.
Yeah, thank you. So, in 2016, I posted a humorous satirical meme saying that Hillary Clinton supporters could text their vote instead of having to go to the polls. Obviously, didn't think much of it. My Twitter account was suspended. This account did get some press on CNN and Wired. Liberals thought this was a conspiracy to trick people out of voting, but I never really thought anything of it. 4 years later, Joe Biden stole the election, and 2 days after he was inaugurated, they obtained a warrant for my arrest. And 7 days after Biden was inaugurated, there was a knock on the door, 7 a.m. down in Florida. four FBI agents and numerous other local law enforcement coming to arrest me. I had no idea what this was for. They charged me under the Klan Act of 1871, a conspiracy against rights statute, conspiracy against injuring or threatening, harassing, that kind of a thing, people exercising their rights. Obviously, this was meant for the Klan, lynching people or just assaulting them or whatever, going to the polls or exercising free speech. So this was pretty crazy. We fought the case for several years before I went to trial, 2 years. Went to trial in Brooklyn, New York, a whole nother issue where they gamed the venue to try to get a favorable jury. Still, the jury was pretty skeptical. They hung, they deadlocked twice, and it took 4 days for them to come to a decision on a single charge. They finally came back with a conviction, and I was sentenced to 7 months in federal prison, and the judge tried to throw me in there. She denied our motion for an appeal bond, basically that you can stay out of prison until the appeal is completed. We finally started turning the tide after the conviction. We appealed the judge's decision. We won the appeal bond. We had a lot of support along the way from individuals like Tucker Carlson, President Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and of course the Schlafly Eagles. We had a lot of support from Ed Martin and John Schlafly, followed the case very closely. And ultimately we prevailed after many more months. It was just this past July that we won the appeal. So fortunately, I never had to spend a day in federal prison for posting a meme. So this was an assault by Biden on free speech and freedom of association. It was weaponization, lawfare, where they pick someone out who was an influential target on the other side and try to take them off the board any way they can. And using really a novel interpretation of the statute that had never been used before. The appellate court decided that there was not enough evidence to even convict me. They didn't have evidence that I conspired with anybody else. And the evidence that I intended this to be a real thing instead of a joke wasn't there either. They didn't really have good evidence of that. They couldn't find a single individual who saw the meme and was tricked, even though they tried to make a big deal out of 4,900 texted the number. Well, most of those people texted it after this was on Wired and CNN and what have you. So that's kind of the overview of my case. We filed a tort claim with DOJ for damages, saying this was a constitutional violation, First Amendment right retaliation, Fourth Amendment violation, because they brought a case that the appellate court said later on that they didn't have the evidence to even bring. And so why are they bringing cases without enough evidence? Would they do that for a drug deal or a murder? No, they wouldn't. Well, this is lawfare in action, and that's what they try to do. So we're trying to win damages, waiting to hear back from the DOJ. The government shut down, but we're confident that the DOJ is going to take this claim seriously and push back against weaponization and lawfare. And so that's where we're at. And we're going to be pushing also for accountability within the DOJ. We're not just going to be looking for damages. We want accountability with the training and also the personnel that pushed this case. Let's find out who they are and why they brought this case and sue them if we can, or just punish them otherwise. So that's where we're at, and so that's where I'm at, and it's great to be here.
Well, wow, what a story. So obviously this was an insane case, sentenced to jail for posting a meme. Obviously that should be protected under the First Amendment. It's just common sense. We're struggling a lot right now in the country with this dialogue about hate speech and misinformation and malinformation. Exactly. You have misinformation where it's just false, and then you have malinformation where it's true, but maybe it's malicious in its intent. All these different dialogues going on. What is the importance of free speech in America? Obviously you're a victim of the weaponization against free speech. How important is it that America keeps an ironclad adherence to the First Amendment so we don't become like the UK, where they're actually imprisoning people with no accountability and no justice for posting things online?
Absolutely. Free speech is essential. We have to have it, or else there's no real debate. We see where they can't even talk about immigration in the UK, wherever else. Freedom of speech means that people say things we don't like. And the problem is once they start going after misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, then they can look at your satirical tweet and say, this is misinformation. One person's misinformation, another person's satire or parody. And they're trying to crack down on this, where Hillary Clinton celebrated my conviction. Barack Obama is now saying we need a new form of journalism where we all have the same facts. Well, guess what? We all have disagreements about the facts. We have disagreements about which facts are important and which facts we use to build up our case for the policies that we want. So to say that we can only have one set of facts is really dangerous in and of itself. So the left is still going after this. They're obsessed with this. They're using foreign nations, like we see in Germany and the UK. They're using their laws to try to censor our social media. So this is a big problem. It's essential that speech remains free, and that we understand that there's no place in government to try to decide what's misinformation, disinformation, and the most insidious malinformation, which is true information that they don't want you to know about.
That's right. So are you optimistic that there's actually going to be some accountability and justice here for these damages that have been done to you? Because it's good that your conviction was overturned, but ultimately these people need to be made an example of, that they can't actually do this to people and get off scot-free. Are you optimistic that that's a possibility?
I'm very optimistic. I like what I've seen the DOJ doing so far. I have a great counsel by the name of James Burnham, who is working on the tort claim. I've retained Milbank to work on accountability. I am optimistic because this should be a no-brainer. I mean, this is pure free speech. It's not anything that can even be debated. So, there's controversy about other things, but this is just pure free speech. So we're optimistic that, and the president sets the tone. The president is pushing for an end to weaponization and an end to lawfare, and he's pushing for reparations or recompense for people who are harmed by weaponization, including himself, as he deserves it. So I am optimistic.
Excellent, excellent. So how can people follow you and your work and follow the case and stay up to date on this whole situation?
Yeah, so go to at Doug Mackey Case on X. I'll keep updates going about the case. DouglasMackey.substack.com, and that's where you can find me. And if you want to chip in, I'm hoping to win damages but still have legal fees outstanding, then you can go to memedefensefund.com. It's memedefensefund.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Douglas. Really appreciate you being here. And folks, this is such a huge fight. If we can't just speak and share ideas, then we don't have a country. And one of the fun things about being involved in politics is the memes, is the satirical content, and that's very effective in changing people's hearts and minds too, is the ability to make jokes, to be able to have comedy, and also to be able to laugh at both sides of the aisle. And if you can't do that, then do we really live in a free society? So I'm glad that your conviction was overturned. I hope these damages are successful, and thank you so much for fighting. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more coverage.